Part of being a fireman, where we work, we actually have to be a paramedic in order to be full-time. It's not just firefighting, it's paramedic and EMS along with the firefighting. So we actually had a shift. This was several years back. I think I was only on my full-time job for a couple of years. It was about 9 o'clock, 9:15 in the evening. And it was pretty much a time where, like, all right, the day's winding down. We were fairly busy throughout the day, and everyone's kind of just, doing their own thing, whether they're reading a book, watching TV, talking to their wife. It's your time at that point. We work 24-hour shifts, and we're about to go to bed. The alarm goes off, and we get a call, and we didn't think it was actually what was going to happen. Basically, the call came in. It says you have 5 teenagers shot at a hotel party. And nearby city was calling mutual aid. So right away, we all kind of go on high alert. Like, all right, you got 5 people shot. It's at a hotel. The city in which we work, it's not a horrible area, but it's not a great area. And you definitely have your spots where it's like, just be careful, and I'll leave it at that. So we get there on scene, and the first thing I can recall what it looked like, it was like Night of Living Dead. People were running, scattering, the cops were pulling up. We weren't even sure if the scene was safe yet, but I remember this kid, actually it turns out to be 17 years old, come walking out, and he's like, blue jeans and a white shirt that wasn't white. It was covered in blood. He'd gotten shot twice, once in the stomach and once in the chest. And he's like walking literally like a zombie, and he just kind of looks and he goes, "Help me." And he spins around and falls on the ground. So we get the cot out of the back, we pick him up, we put him on the cot, and looking at this kid, and he's just not doing well. So we cut his shirt off. We find a hole in his chest. We find a hole in the stomach. So he's been shot twice by a small caliber, probably handgun. And we started going to work. So we started an IV. Started giving him some fluids. We quickly, once we found the bleeding, got some bandages and put the bandages over and tried to, stop the bleeding. And I really do not remember much of what was going on at this point. All I can remember is pulling up to the hospital. We go to wheel this kid into the hospital, and for just different reasons and where we were at, they said it'd be better if we waited outside in the squad for Life Flight to get there. Now, Life Flight from the hospital was coming, had a doctor, critical care nurse, and a medic, I believe. The ER staff was pretty busy, they were overwhelmed, and they really didn't have anything for this kid to help him. Maybe that's not the most comforting thing to hear about a hospital, but different situations, different hospitals. This was not the right hospital to come. We had already called Life Flight, so they were en route. It was going to be about 5 minutes. That was one of the longest 5-minute periods of my life. We go back out to the squad, we're waiting right next to the landing pad for the helicopter. And this kid's going out. At first he was talking, he closes his eyes, his breathing's getting more shallow. I had no idea what to do. All of us looked at each other. Something came over me, and I just stood over this kid and I said, "Hey!" He opens his eyes, he starts to close his eyes, and I smack him across his face. Hard. And everybody looked at me like, "What are you doing?" And I look up like, "I don't know." And the kid opens up his eyes, and he starts to go out again, so I smack him across his face again. And I'm like, I have to come up with something better than this. But it was an instinct, it was an instinctual reaction. They tell you what to do in school, and they try to train you for these events, but you don't know what's going to happen and how it's going to go down. So I thought to myself, all right, inner city, this kid's going out, I got to find some sort of a lifeline to throw this kid. So the first thing that came to mind was basketball. I said, "Hey, kid, you play sports?" And he kind of opened his eyes a bit more and goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "You play basketball, football?" He goes, "I play basketball." I'm like, cool. I'm like, "I bet you're really good at basketball too, aren't you?" And he's like, kind of starting to come around a little bit more. And, we're all kind of looking at each other and a little bit surprised, really? Is this working? And so he's like, yeah, I'm a point guard. Mind you, this kid has 2 bullet holes, and we thought he was going to pretty much croak on us right there. Now he starts talking about basketball. So for the next minute or so, we're talking about basketball, and I start talking about his career, growing up in the, on the streets and being better than anybody else, and then getting accepted to a college, and, then getting a chance to play in the NBA and meeting the scouts, and this kid's like really kind of coming to life. So the doctor gets there. He opens the back door, and right away you just hear, "Oh no." they take him out, we help package him up, we put him in a helicopter, and we just all kind of watched as he took off. And we're asking ourselves, and we're thinking to ourselves, did we do everything we could possibly do? Are we gonna, is he gonna make it? Could we have done something differently? Like, did we miss something? Could we have done something? You do start questioning yourself, especially when you have a kid who's 17 years old. He's not even, a legal adult yet. He's got so much life in front of him if he wants it. So we find out a couple weeks later that the kid did survive.
His dreams kept him alive.
And that's a great thing to look at. His passion, his anchor point, his dreams, that was his motivating force, his motivating factor, and that kept him alive. So for anybody out there, your situation doesn't have to be as dire as having a couple of holes in your chest or your stomach. But when you hit that rock bottom low point in your life where you feel like there's nothing to do, nowhere to go, you can't get any worse, woe is me, retrieve to that point in your mind that's private, that you know and you understand better than anybody else. Even if other people don't support it, if you try to let it out, you yourself have to be your own driving force for your passion, for your dreams. But if you can feed off that and turn that into a reality and make that your power that you can call upon, it's just very, very, very powerful. It's a very personable, powerful thing that you can do to save your own life, metaphorically and in reality.